Hey everybody, it's Mr. Ochoa showing us how we are going to take our two panoramic JPEGs that we have submitted into Classroom, and we are going to distort them and turn them into the tiny planets that we are going to continue to touch up and refinish next week. But today's steps are really, really important because it is then creating these tiny planets that we are going to decide which one we want to use for our finals and then do a little bit of touching up and editing. But for today's class, our expectation is going to be to take our two photos, to create tiny planets out of them, submit them into Classroom as both PSDs and JPEGs. The PSDs are going to be for you to open and work on later, but the JPEGs are just going to be to kind of show us what your final product is in Classroom. So when you go to photopea.com, the first thing I want you guys to make sure to do is to hit auto select and transform controls. That's just something we've always done, and it makes things easier. So what we're going to do, first of all, is make sure that we are in Classroom and make sure that we download our JPEG, that we download our images. Something really important is if your images are HEIC files, you can always look up HEIC to JPEG. You can drop those images in, and you can download the JPEGs that this website offers. Make sure to download them one at a time, and that way you can have JPEGs that you can work with in Photopea. So with that in mind, we can go back to here. So once your JPEGs are downloaded and converted, you're going to open from computer rather than new project. So you're going to find that JPEG file that you downloaded. Let's go here. Once you open it, Photopea is going to bring up your long panoramic image. Now, something that is really important is if you hit Control+, you can kind of zoom in on your image and see what is going on. So something you're really going to notice is sometimes when we take our panoramics, they're going to have these little wavy bacon edges. And that's because we were holding our phone in our hands, breathing, and moving our phones. So something that might need to happen is you might need to crop. Now, if you hit this tool, the crop tool, you can select what part of your images you want. I didn't really like that selection. You can hit X. And you can crop until you are satisfied. Getting a part of that image that doesn't have any of those black lines, maybe even canceling out some of that stuff on the side, and actually getting the panoramic you want without these wavy lines. Now, you need to have delete cropped pixels selected, and you're going to hit that check mark. So once that happens, you're going to have that panoramic image you want without those black edges, without all of that. But if your image is good enough to begin with, then that's perfectly fine as well. So what we're going to do is we are going to convert this long panoramic image into a square. The square makes it easier to distort like we want. So back with my move tool, you are going to go to image size. Now, usually when you turn this on, this chain will be highlighted in black. You need to make sure to hit that. That allows us to change the image the way we want. And what we are going to do is we are looking at the smallest number. We are going to use the smallest number, which is definitely going to be the height, and we are going to go up here to width and make those numbers match. 3, 2, 2, 8. And you are going to hit OK. What that's going to do is that's going to make our image a square, which is going to compress everything. That's going to help with our final tiny planet. Now, it looks really, really small. You can use your magnifying tool, or you can use Control+. So you can see that our image is a square that has now been compressed, really small and really, really tight. So, oops. With that in mind, we are going to do an image transform, rotate 180. That's going to make our image upside down. And what's going to happen is when we add our filter that we're going to add, it's going to twist and turn our images into the circles that we want for our tiny planets. So what's going to happen is you're going to hit filter, distort polar coordinates. And that is going to make your tiny planet come alive. Now, with the 2/3 sky, 1/3 ground, sometimes we might have a little more sky than we want. But we just learned about a tool that can help us. If you have that clear sky in your background, you can hit your crop tool. You can select a good view that you like. And continuing that process, you can make sure delete crop pixels is hit and hit OK. And then if you zoom in a little bit, you're getting a little bit more of that tiny planet we want. Maybe we want to have a little bit more. So I can still crop, make sure to look at what these things coming out are, find a good space, and you could even crop even smaller. You delete crop pixels, and there we go. So you can zoom in and finally get that little tiny planet that you wanted. And you guys can crop as much as you see fit. If you need to zoom in and see a little bit more, that's fine. If you don't need to, that's fine as well. I can help anybody with these steps live in Classroom. You can see here this little seam, which is because our flat image got twisted and turned. Next week, we are going to learn how we can edit and fix some of these things. But our job this week is to make sure that we turn both of our images into these tiny planets and we save them. So first off, we can save as a PSD. That will save it automatically into your computer. And then we can export as a JPEG. You hit save, and there we go. We have our JPEG and our PSD. Now that you have those saved, I made a mistake and I didn't take the opportunity to name these files the way that I wanted. In my downloads, there we go. You can always right-click, rename, and you can do your last name, first name, last name. Let's say Tiny Planet 1. And you can copy that. Right click and do the same. This is to make up for me not starting it as a new project, but this is something that can be done a little bit later. So with your two files ready, you just need to make sure that you repeat these steps on your second Tiny Planet JPEG that you're going to have. And when you have both of those done, your job is going to be to submit both of those into the assignment in Classroom. So that is what we're going to be doing for the first half of this week, is turning our panoramic images into these tiny planets. And then we are going to work on what is going to happen next in the classes to come. So if anybody has any questions, make sure you're asking, and I can, of course, meet with you or talk with you and help you. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in class.